ads, as it needs to basically test how effective ads are, right? And right now I can actually see if I would have pre-scheduled it by posting on my own page, it would have actually reached more, but this is entirely just conversion based off of ads. So that's why the space is a little smaller today, but that's what it is. So anyways, Solar, would you like to give us a little bit of a breakdown as to how the ads themselves have performed, what it was like, what you did? Like, give us the 12,000 foot overview, so to speak, and then go granular as you can.
Yeah, so I have both of our ads up. Pretty much, we started about, I'd say about 12 days ago, right? And the general overview was to just test ads on a space, which to my knowledge I have not seen happen yet, and just see like what type of results we can get without any external influence from Adrian's account or anything like that. So we did get about 600,000 impressions, which is fairly good, for that time span. And we started off with a budget of around $20 to $30 a day. The first few days, we let that budget run just so we could kind of see like what's getting targeted, and we only targeted your followers, my followers, and very specific list of keywords. So like marketing on X, anyone who typed in the word ads, spaces, things like that. Tried to keep the targeting very, very low without influence really from the optimization algorithm option. The optimization algorithm option allows the algorithm to kind of reach outside of your target audience that you set, and that can have a pretty significant impact on the views and how many people see it. But for this test, we just really wanted to see who will see the ad based off of just this criteria and the specific targeted keywords. And I believe, Adrian, on Discord, I sent you 2 links to the ads. You can probably scroll up and check that out. One ad, we got 389,000 views. And when I go into the analytics for that, we got about 400 clicks through. Now, we know that can vary between, desktop clicks, iOS, Android, etc. We got about 13 or 14 bookmarks and about 100 or 200 likes around that for each one, which isn't too bad. We did turn off the comments on these because there is a slight situation where people will tend to promote their own events or their own products and things like that within ads. And an easy way to avoid that is just by switching it over to verified commentation only. So there's not many comments on these specifically for that reason. Now, had I left the comments on, there'd probably be a larger amount. And I anticipated a low amount of comments based off of that criteria. But yeah, as the days went by, right, we started with that budget of $20, $30 a day and slowly dropped it down as it optimized itself. So maybe the first day I saw 10, 15, 20,000 impressions. The next day I dropped it down another $5. It would kick up a little bit more in impressions, which is contrary to what people may think. Lowering your budget would decrease your impression count. That's not always true. If you're lowering your budget based off of the results you're seeing, it will slowly optimize itself. And so we did one ad that was just text-based, right? So just us talking, it says here, let me read that copy to you. Yeah, so we just wrote, join at Solar Heavy and at Adrian Dittman for a discussion on running ads with a low budget on X. And we put the date and we put a link to that reminder for them to click on, right? That one actually did better and had a larger amount of click-throughs, which is interesting, right? But the image seemed to perform twice as much when it came to likes and actually profile visits, which seems about accurate. Visual ads always outperform text ads, depending on what the content's about and the creative. You'll get a varying, result from that. And all I did was actually use your banner profile, which worked perfectly, since I was targeting specifically your followers. That kind of gives that brand awareness to anyone who did see it. We had a few people comment and mention, looking forward to it and all that. But really, the results are I'm saying they're higher than I would expect for the view count. And it's just interesting that even a couple hundred people, were liking an ad and all that based off of the space. To my knowledge, I've not seen anyone run ads on a space specifically. So it was interesting just to run this test and see the results that we got and run down through them. So yeah. And Adrian, did you have any questions based off of the results that we got?
Oh yes. What exactly would that conversion ratio look like? And are there perhaps other things? I think we should actually try out other things as well, because we're just basically running this space as a test. There's really not much that we can break down because the data that we've collected is interesting insight, but it's by no means something that is quite large and comprehensive. Well, comprehensive to the problem that we wish to discuss, and that is, I think, that the conversion for the impressions to people that are listening into this space is actually not as high as I'd have anticipated it to be. Like when I set a space and I publish it myself, I actually get less impressions on it than we did with the ads, but I actually get more people setting reminders. I had a guy check out the reminder set for the space, and it was only up to about 40. When I normally set a space, it's up to 100, 200, 300, something like that. Those are usually the average numbers. So I was quite surprised that there were actually not that many additional numbers on this. I was kind of anticipating this because I saw previously there was a person who ran a ad with MySpace, and they amassed millions of impressions on that post because it was actually a promoted post, so it's an ad and a post at the same time, where that just only led to, I think, an increase of at least 100 listeners, but no more than that, right? So you're actually seeing almost none. I'm not sure if there's many new people that have joined into this thanks to the ad. So for Spaces, I think it's probably not one of the best things to do at the moment. That might change in the future, I think, for targeting and such. Potentially because the nature of Spaces itself has to be identified. The way that Spaces themselves perform is largely unclear because there's just some things that don't really make much sense when it comes to how Periscope actually functions and how Spaces actually trend. It's very odd. I can't understand it. It's like it's based on the titles, I believe, as well. So that could be a thing that has an impact. But beyond that, it's really a mystery how you can actually make Spaces expand. Except for, of course, amassing a large amount of accounts in a space. That's actually the best way, I think, to blow up a space. So if you wanted to make a space big, then having like bigger accounts in a space altogether is probably the better way to do it than to say ads. So I think for our next test, what we should do is we should run because the launch 5 is coming. Launch 5 for Starship is coming. We're going to make a video. We actually made some music, and we're going to edit this together into something that's really cool. So we're going to post it natively here on X. We're also going to post it on YouTube. And so we're going to run ads. I think we should do this. We should run ads on, well, not only on YouTube video itself, but also a link to the YouTube video here on X and the video itself on X, just to kind of test things out and see how the conversion of that is. And then we'll have a bigger data set because I think this is something that we ourselves should test out as well to kind of give a more comprehensive understanding of how ads work and how by that extension also X works. But yeah, for now, the insight that we've gathered is actually quite minimal, which is unfortunate, but it is true.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, I've not seen it really work well for ads, and this is the first one we've ever done with, spaces with ads. Yeah, I agree. I would say it has a lot to do with more of like an awareness towards the influencers and the people that are actually in the space, outside of just promoting it out there, and especially since it's promoted to your own target. Now, it might have been different results had we done a more broad approach instead of just specifically targeting, my following and your following. But generally, that was what the space was about, and the ad content was directly correlated to, check out ads with Solar Heavy and Adrian Dittman. But had we probably included other accounts, it might have been different. But yeah, I agree. There's not really much wiggle room when it comes to promoting spaces on ads. I feel like it would probably perform better with a larger data set, like you mentioned, and also aiming it outwards. Unfortunately, it's great. I like the idea of keeping advertisement and advertising within the platform, right? It seems to always perform better than externally. But for YouTube, considering that we are doing that video with the song and everything, yeah, I feel like that would probably perform really better, as well as promoting that in an A/B format against the native video that you post on your channel as well. Which I think your channel post of the video that we do is going to obviously perform very well, and that'll be interesting to run an ad on an already posted video versus creating the ad within the X Ads platform, which they give you a whole other website to do all that. And so for these two ads, that's actually what I did. We didn't post it individually on your account or my account. We actually went through the campaign editor and campaign creation option through X Ads. So that also makes it less visible based off of natively selecting a post and then running that as ads. But yeah, I totally agree. The results are pretty minimal, not as expected. The impressions are there, which clearly means it's getting shown. The algorithm's doing its job. It's getting it in front of people. But the conversions, it's really, really low. I mean, 200-300 likes for over 500,000 impressions. That's quick math. Fractions of a percent. So it's really not expected to perform well. I'm guessing with Spaces. It's curious to wonder what type of marketing will work with Spaces, and I'm sure eventually more people will cue into that, and then we can go from there. But you run Spaces enough that I think eventually you'll find some things that will work. Like you mentioned, the name of the space and the anticipation of it. It's almost like how the name of the YouTube video and the caption is really gonna trigger people to want to see and watch next or see what's going on. So I feel like, yeah, something with the actual caption title, things like that, a call to action type of title name would probably work better.
There is a thing I've noticed,
what's your opinion on that?
There's a thing I've noticed though just now, and that is that there are so when people are tuning in to say from desktop or anywhere else, what usually happens is you see them as other listeners as well, or like anonymous. That's actually, I'm seeing a lot more of those people in here than I would with other spaces. So I'm assuming that this is potentially the result of our ad, right? Because I haven't seen that before. I only see this if my space goes like up in the goes into like the upper 200s, something like that. So I would say that potentially there is a little bit of a boost here, especially for someone who'd be doing like a first time space. I think they'd get about 100 or something like that, because this space is completely out of pocket from anything that I'd be doing. Like literally nobody knows about this, and nobody was notified in advance of this from anyone who's like following me, except if I may have mentioned it, every now and then, but just like once we were just talking about how to make that happen. But yeah, I think we should kind of probably run a part 2 on this at some point, but like actually drum it up a little bit. Let's see what we could do with, say, max effort. I wonder what we could do with max effort. Probably a little bit of a call to action. We're going to break down X ads, something like that, come up with something nice. And then I kind of think run something on that. And maybe if all of that works, optimize it until we get, I think, about 1,000 listeners live. That's something that I'd want to try and somehow achieve with ads at least. And then we can kind of have a communication on that. Because we have to sell something, right?
I think that's a realistic target.
Yeah, we have to sell something here. That's the issue. I think we're not entirely clear as to what we were selling. That I think was the first issue for why this space wouldn't actually perform as much in the beginning. So I think we'll have to be clear as to what we're selling. An analysis on ads on X, how to do X ads, something like that. We have to make it clear that this is what we're doing, that we're doing a breakdown here, we're doing analysis, and then sell that to people. It's like how ads work on X, ad rev and potentially also, just ad performance, right? And so people I think generally would be interested in that, like this, but also I think maybe we should pick a subject, like a dedicated subject that is independent from ads, because we're like the niche of the niche here, where we ask, who's interested in understanding how the niche works? This is like, what is this? So I think that the performance of this is by definition low, and that's perfectly fine. I think that's all right. It's understandable. So I think it says more about our product that we're selling than it does about the service itself. So that is something I think is important to note as well, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. You can have the best marketing option in the world, but if you're selling something that people don't want or understand, it's really going to only hit so far. So I agree on that. The creative we could probably do a little bit better with. We didn't do a video, and generally video ads do perform really well. Like a 5 or 10 second clip. But it's almost like how exactly could we do that for a space? So it'd probably be something that I'd drum up or make in another website, just a little 10-second clip, and then include that in the ad. But yeah, I agree. If we targeted something specific, like outside of that as the goal, like something very like space related or related to music and SpaceX, something like that. The rocket launch. I really think the rocket launch and that visual and the song combined, I definitely anticipate that to perform much better than this. So there's probably room for us to try something down that avenue and then optimize it. But a goal of 1,000 listeners and congruently through that should be consecutively. Should be possible. I don't see why that wouldn't be an option. As well as instead of for the next run, we're not going to really just target your followers and mine. We're going to try the optimization approach, which is an option at the bottom of every ad campaign you run. That just almost triples. It's 30x the result. Letting the algorithm really do its thing and run on its own without any interference manually is always the ads that perform best. Like my one ad that's north of 20-30 million impressions. That is one where I just simply ask the question and allow the algorithm to just run optimized on its own. I also did a few things specifically that I knew would lower the results. Is I selected only English. I selected only in the United States. And targeting that specific, I mean, of course, that's where the platform is. That's where the majority of the users are. But honestly, it's a worldwide platform, and you can get reach in many other countries if you actually deselect the United States and deselect English. Of course, people are going to listen in. They're going to be bilingual. So there's different things, different manual aspects of the campaign that I can change and tweak that would definitely get bigger results. But like you said, this was more of a laser focused, approach to this first run here, just to see like what's the baseline of what we're starting with. But yeah, a larger data set, more time running. We only did 10 or 12 days for this. Budget can stay the same. Budget's good. Believe it or not, XAds is very optimal and efficient when it comes to your budget. In fact, it's one of the things that I like about the platform the most is compared to Instagram, Facebook, the minimum budget you can set on ads on those platforms is, I believe, $1, right? So you can't go under $1, but yet on X, you can run ads for 50 cents. If you optimize it that highly efficient, and you're seeing great results, there's nothing stopping you from doing a large volume of ads at a lower budget. Right, and that's actually the technique that I run with my ads. I'm sure some people in here have seen some of my ads, or they've not. But generally, the way that I approach it is like a shotgun approach, right? So not like a really targeted, scoped-in approach, but just spray and pray. As many ads as I can get out there at a very low budget. And then, of course, you pick your winners, right? So the ones that are performing the best, they get a little bit higher budget. Maybe I increase that $1 or so. The ones that aren't performing as well, they get that budget decreased, right? And it's pretty much a transfer of your expenses and funds from your lower performers to your higher performers. And, that just, these little things kind of add up and tweak it. And we did only run one singular ad campaign with only 2 ad copies within it, right? Had we ran maybe 5, with a couple dollars for each one and then optimized between that, those are other options that, would give us more data to work with, more results, and a general way to find out which one's performing best. I'd say one thing we could do for the next round is test the exact same settings, right, of not using the optimization feature that's built in within XAds, and then running the exact same campaign with that option on, right? So then we will really see the differentiation in A/B between the one with the optimization on, letting the algorithm just run with it and do its own thing, versus the general approach that most people are going to come onto the platform and do, which is manually targeting. And I should be I should run it back a little bit. I've got no professional knowledge or credentials within advertising or business or anything like that. Pretty much just a solo indie artist learning ads and going with it as I learn it. starting about 5 or 6 months ago, and just doubling down on the results that I see, and learning firsthand. Right, that's probably the best way to learn anything outside of ads, is just actually diving in, learning it from a firsthand approach, and then doubling down on the things that start working. But yeah, I think there's potential in it. It's just mostly we got to dig around and find which avenues are really, really efficient, and which ones are just are leading us into nowhere. So yeah, these results are a little bit under par for what I anticipated. Impressions are great, but like you said, you ran that campaign with someone else and got millions of impressions on it, I believe you mentioned. But the results were typical to what we just see here, but maybe even lower or equal to that.
Yeah, true. I mean, I have to say the results themselves kind of look like a success to me in a sense, because if we went this niche and we are already this big, I mean, look at the amount of listeners that are other listeners, right? This is an insane niche selection. This is the absolute opposite of what you should do if you wanted to get reach. This is the absolute worst thing you could ever do, but we did all of those things. So I think that, put that into consideration, the performance of the space actually, I think, speaks for itself. So I think for our next experiment, we should do the complete opposite, go full in, absolutely insane, and see what pops out the other end of that. I want to see what happens if we really just go completely mad, like complete off the chain. I want to see what happens, like put some huge amounts of money into this. I mean, I did have ad revenue, so I'm probably like thinking of maybe if we put like $1,000 into the campaign, see how that works out, and then figure out something that we can target. Potentially what we could even do is we can have a space around how we made the music for IFT5 and the editing process, and just have a space around that, the video space by how we made art for this. Something like that. Yeah. So we have that event already. We can kind of assume when the launch is going to start, and then we'll just have something set up in the future for that, and just completely moon the shit out of it. So I think that would be perfect if we break that down. So we're going to boost it all across.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, considering, that's going to be a major event, and it is coming right up. The song's done, believe it or not. I forgot to forward it to you, but it's 90% done. I'm just going to do the final mix, final master. But I'll send that over to you for your final, rundown on what you think on it. But yeah, I think that's a great approach. That would be perfect for what you mentioned earlier is, something related to ads, but ads aren't the focal point of what we're trying to sell here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we do add a budget, this budget was I believe $120 spent so far. So it's 1/10 of what you just mentioned. So, and I agree with the results we got here. If we got 600,000 impressions with that tiny budget, I would anticipate millions of impressions, and with the optimization feature on, that even should be 5x of what that is. So yeah, I anticipate it performing as equal to my other ads that I run. Now, what's interesting is you mentioned running an ad to the YouTube video that we upload, as well as running the ad to the video on your channel. Yeah, that's actually what I do now. Is like 90% of my ads, and maybe only a few run to my Spotify, but the other 90% run to my YouTube channel. And those ones seem to perform really, really well. We talked about this in your other space a little bit. For whatever reason, users on X do not mind clicking over to YouTube. I don't know if it's just the familiarity of the platform, what they're generally the biggest platform for video content, but it's surprising to see that it's not really a barrier. People don't find that to be an issue, clicking over to YouTube. The clicks on there are almost astronomical, and the impressions are north of 5, 6, 7 million impressions on some of those ad campaigns I'm running. And the budget is, like I said, it's not really crazy. $5 a day, $10 a day, and then increasing on the ones that are really efficient and decreasing on the ones that are underperforming. And that's the thing with ads on this platform is for my specific industry, indie musician, right? I've got no label behind me, no marketing team, no big, large anything happening behind my music. Just one-man band, pretty much in essence. Typically it would be an artist would get with a label, they get with a marketing firm, either in-house or outsource that to another company, and they would dump very, very large budgets into promotion. I'm sure you can think of any of your favorite artists, and on billboards or in commercials or on TV shows. this avenue is really something that almost anyone can hop into, and the barrier to entry to running ads as an independent artist or creative, or whether you're doing music, or maybe you're a writer, an illustrator, you're selling artwork, or you're running a small home business. Yeah, the X ads really is the place that you can excel that exponentially, just based off of a very small budget, right? Most people don't have 10, 20, $30,000 a month to run ads like a major label or corporation would, but it's easier for someone to maybe set aside a couple $100s a month or every few months just for an ad campaign and running that, $10 a day, $300 a month, something like that. So the potential's there, and that's really what I like about it, is the potential for almost anyone who has something, some type of product or creative event or show or anything like that, to really get it out there and get the awareness in front of people that really want to be interested in it.
Absolutely, I agree. So yeah, I think that will be our thing. We will be running a two-part ad campaign. We're going to be running the first ad on how we're going to be running a massive campaign on how we created the music video and the music for IFT5. That will be the first thing, and then after that, we will run a campaign on how we ran that campaign, how it works, and how all of that broke down. So I think that's what we should be doing. Just kind of like chain it together and see what happens. I kind of feel like I have a really good feeling about this, that this will have just massive success. We'll come up with a compelling title, we'll A/B test everything, and then we'll examine how well ads can really perform. That is also a thing I have to ask, like, how exactly does X business work? This is another thing that we need to figure out, because I kind of feel like if we could potentially reach out to them somehow, we could even scale it up further, right? That would be amazing. And we could actually give a customer perspective on how everything here works on X and kind of like make a good case for it, because I really do want to see what happens when you put it through the rigorous test. And we have I have a good standing towards X. I don't want to cause the platform any harm, so they can be 100% certain that I will report in a manner that is entirely factual, not at all biased, because my bias is actually in their favor as opposed to against them, which is ironic. But yeah, I love the X platform.
Yeah, same.
Of course, we're gonna do a good job. But yeah, I think this was an interesting experience. And we look at the amount of listeners that are in this space, almost 200. It's not so bad. We have actually there's 200 now. We usually have a better performance, but this space was like pre-scheduled only in the ad set. So I'm pretty sure there's new listeners here. And as a matter of fact, I think I gained like probably 10 followers off of this. So yeah, it's all right. By the way, thank you for joining in. Thank you for coming, first-time listeners.
Mic cut out, Adrian.
Does this himself professionally.
There we go.
So
You're back. We missed like 10 seconds of that.
You're back. You cut out a little bit.
do I cut out? Oh, I see. Sorry, I had a little.
And again.
You're good. You're back.
Carry on.
All right. Well, you did just mention a few followers from that. That's another thing within the ads. We did actually get about 20 or 30 followers each from the ads running, which is interesting. They do tell you your cost per follower and all that. So it cost us about 35 cents per new follower. So that was like 20 or 30 people each that just came through from those ads, which is interesting because it's just an ad running on a space with very minimal content and creative in the ad itself. So it's not performing, that bad considering it's, just a space ad. But yeah, I've been in a few of these spaces before, and generally the listeners are north of like 300-400. And I didn't even know that you could go all the way down to the bottom and actually see other listeners, which is anonymous listeners. It's pretty neat. That's something that I've never looked on in the previous spaces to get an idea of how many that averages. But yeah, that's an interesting statistic for me to note here, that we've got about 30 other listeners through that, and probably some new ones, like you mentioned. So very interesting.
I think most of these are actually
new. Oh yeah, new. Okay, good. So I do think I'm pretty excited about what the results are going to be for the rocket launch and having that video for that and the song. That's multiple levels of creative happening for one specific piece of content, right? We've got the song being completely original. It's unreleased anywhere else. In fact, I'm not releasing it until that happens, and the video is going to come out first before I even put it up on Spotify or anywhere else. So that's going to even give it a little bit more exclusivity from my end and the people listening to my music. On top of, you've already done a few of these cuts of previous launches, right? So that's going to just double down on that. It's going to, and we're both going to be working on both avenues of it. You know, you've helped me with the aspect of what the song should be. Like, you've given very, very great critique on the first two songs you sent through to give me an idea of like what the essence of the song should be like for it. And the result's great. You know, the final is pretty well accepted from the people I've showed it to, and yeah, that's going to be really, really good for the clip and how we cut that footage up. My question is, do we know how soon that launch is going to be? I believe it should be relatively soon, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a month out or less. We'll see. There still has to be a true official release. You can look at the SpaceX website, so if something new has come out, you'll see it there first, and then it will be posted everywhere else. So, yeah, the official SpaceX website, of course, yeah, what it is, SpaceX.com, just like go to it and just check out what the next launches are going to be, including, of course, IFT5. And then there should be a schedule for that, kind of an estimate for when it would go live, and yeah, then we can kind of like build it around that. It's kind of difficult as well, because if you schedule a space or something for the launch, you have to like always schedule it a day in advance, because if you don't schedule it only a day in advance, things can happen, and even then the launch window may just close or shift. So it's really difficult to really target a proper day for the launch itself. You'd have to kind of like really, really know for certain that the launch is definitely going to happen on that day, and if it doesn't, of course, yeah, it's kind of annoying. But yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So actually, we created.
Well, I think
yeah. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what we, since obviously we'll need the footage of the launch to make the video and all that, what we can do is we can schedule a release date for the video, right? And so that could be very targeted, and then kind of base our time frames around that. What do you think about that?
Okay, this is the Pat Gibbons podcast. Chicago Republicans vote Trump at real Donald Trump. Let me see if I can get Pat to come into the room. Trying to get this guy to do a podcast. If he can't do it, he can't do it. I don't care. Okay, Pat says he needs time to recuperate and he can't come to the space, so I guess he's all just talk. Here we go. Have a great day, everybody.
Funny AGI, like just making jokes or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably be as funny as most human beings. That's what I imagine.
Yeah, I'd say Lily's system prompt there response was pretty good, right? Consider that funny.
I mean, it was for me more funny that she was fooling a lot of people for a longer time. Not she, but yeah, it did feel like she also had humor. It was not the most complex or most fun humor. Like I'm really
Yeah, but I mean, I hear you all after hearing her, and I'm having like a difficult time to understand if you're human or not.
oh my god. You see, that's the thing. You cannot know it anymore. And this is today. Like imagine guys in one year. My fucking goodness. Like many people wrote me.
These are on my YouTube channel as well, so if you wanted to go over there, it's the same name as here. It's Adrian Dittman. It's like at Adrian Dittman. That's basically the same screen name. You can go to my page, copy it there, or just like post it, and then you'll get the tag. Go to the YouTube, you'll find it there. It's the channel has about 300 subscribers on it at the moment. So if you want to subscribe to that and see more stuff that's coming out, I'm hoping to create more video content, which will of course be released here on X first because this takes priority, but then will also be released on YouTube for like podcasts and such, because I think eventually I will do more podcast related things, more extensions to the conversation. We may even have an interview with Alex Stein, who is Master Troll, is the best way I can describe it. He's crazy. Yeah, so I probably see myself taking that and putting this on YouTube as well. So we'll see. We're going to see some of that stuff as well. But yeah, those are highlights that I make, various edits, and for that we've of course had music from a different person, a musician that I personally do not know though. But you put credit in the video itself is Aaron Habel. So yeah, the next one, the next piece of music is actually that done by Solar Heavy here. So yeah, he reached out to me because I was saying, more musicians should put their music videos on X. And then I saw that comment section. I was like, okay, cool. Let's see, what can you do? And then he just came up with what kind of music I would like to have. We kind of had a little bit of a back and forth. And that turned into a really, really good song that I think sounds pretty epic. We've given it to like a little bit of test audience. They all said, God damn, that sounds good. So, yeah. That's happening.
Yeah. The songs you put me on for that, to get the starting of it, man, that was something else. I know I originally sent you an idea, and then when you sent those other two, I was like, whoa, okay. And I believe you mentioned a movie that I still need to watch that had some really, really good cinematic music into it. I listened to the soundtrack for it, believe it or not. I was impressed with that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the brass and the horns.
Yes. Very prophetic. It's actually a biblical reference in a sense. When people would have to look that up, what this means when the horns are sounding, or the trumpets sound. Actually, it's a very deep biblical reference. And I thought that was really fucking cool as well to have that in. That's what initially touched me about that movie, which is one that came out a while ago. I think it's called Hereditary. Yes, that was the movie. It's a horror movie actually, which is ironic, but it's a horror movie about what is essentially like a pagan god that's called Paimon, and it's like infected a family, so to speak, and this whole thing is hereditary, so that's kind of what that movie is about. Very interesting, very, very good movie. It's a psychological thriller, it's the best way I can describe it. Completely is designed to make you feel absolute and utter dread. It's like a really, really good movie, I think. Personally, something that people with psychological problems should absolutely not watch. I'm personally crazy. I'm relatively, I take things, so I just consume art like this because I see it as art, and it's kind of stupid, but it's interesting. But yeah, that movie's great. The soundtrack as well. The soundtrack, which is the summoning of this guy, is actually the soundtrack that they used for that, and I listened to it independently of the movie, and I was like, dude, this sounds massive. Like, the movie is crazy, and the thing is horrifying, but the music is just wow. I was like, wait a minute, this is actually interesting. So yeah, the music is actually really
Yeah,
good.
I dived a little bit. I dived a little bit into the composer for that, and he's done a few other ones like that. It's really good, and that's kind of what set me off to this song that I was working on. Once I heard like the horns and everything, I was like, oh, okay, we gotta have like a big symphonic type of like brass section going on in this, and that's why you hear in the song during that first minute in, just the horns coming in. I use about I think 8 or 9 different horns to get that type of wideness happening in it, that stereo type of feel to it. It came out really great, and that was a great idea. So I'm excited for how that's going to look and feel for this launch, especially with the news that they're actually going to try to catch the rocket. I mean, the timing that we can put for the song towards that, it's going to be really good. And second-handedly, that's just going to work even better for when we're doing the ad. That's going to be something else.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is going to be like an all event for all of us. So yeah, we're gonna actually have to go into a call to kind of hyper optimize the editing for this to see if we can really just put everything together. Because I kind of feel like you and I are on the same page for what we want to see out of these videos. Because I think that is the most important thing when it comes to editing. That's also why I've mainly edited everything solo, and I just relied on people for clips and such, right? So for the birthday video, for instance, I actually made the experiment and wanted to see if the editing styles of other people could kind of merge with this, and that turned out not to be a successful thing at all. But what of course did turn out to be successful was clips from the things that were difficult to find. That was really good. We put this all together. We found like stuff from the early 2000s and shit about Elon for his birthday video, which is really difficult to acquire, especially in HD. And so, we all kind of collectively did something. Blyes and Wiggle, they both contributed heavily to the clips there. And then I just did all the editing, I did the music finding and all that. So yeah, I already kind of had something to do with the music, but it's just basically just to see, would you click on this yourself? Would you want to watch this and listen to this yourself? And would other people do this as well? Just to kind of balance out in case of delusion and bias. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I believe that's better just to do things individually. That's even why I do what I do. So the 2 songs that are most recent on my account, my profile, I did all the footage for that. And believe it or not, I just downloaded CapCut, went and found stock footage that I felt fitted, just went with it for 2 days. I can't believe you did that one in a day. It took me 3 days to cut all the different individual pieces for the one I did. And then, you watch it over in a few times, then you go back and you cut and edit a little bit more. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for if we hop in a call and just really laser target how we're going to lay this out for the visual to the sound of it. Should be really good. Another thing I want to mention is you said your YouTube account has 300 followers or something like that, or subscribers. We should probably run the ads. We'll run it on your account as well for the video that you upload, and then you'll actually be able to track, the analytics coming in from the ads, and that's something I love to do. I log into my YouTube and I'll see the watch time and everything go up, and I go up about 100 or 200 subscribers a day just from running these ads. So it should be interesting to see how your account grows, being a smaller account on there, but you have a large following on here, and see that convert over onto your YouTube account.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I don't actively promote my YouTube channel on here because I kind of want to keep that separate. Not really just separate, but I'm an X exclusive creator in a sense, so I really heavily prioritize X, so I don't actually take the audience off from X and put it to YouTube. Actually, my goal would be a little bit different, but to say, take an audience from YouTube and bring them here, or at least have an audience that is native to both those places, because I think if you try to merge the audience from X to YouTube, there's a bit of a misalignment, I guess, in a sense, because if you want truly the best thing that is for the platform, you actually don't want to take things off the platform. So that's a bit of a personal challenge. It's almost like self-sabotage if you think about it this way, but I like to keep that standard. So if there was like a possibility to grow the YouTube channel from the YouTube side over, then you can have kind of a divide in terms of audiences, and so you have a more broader audience to that extent, right? This is kind of what I kind of want. I don't want to overload the existing audience that I have here with content, right? I don't want to spam you guys. So that's unfair. So there should be like a specialized audience for YouTube and the general audience, which is here on X. So that's kind of what I want to see mostly out of that project and other projects going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you even mentioned previously in another space that it's actually like a negative impact to your account, and if you're posting things that take people off the platform, which should never be the goal. The goal should obviously to keep it all on the platform, everything in there. That's why I find it interesting that YouTube links do perform as well as they do. And I think I mentioned before, to combat that issue of that negative impact of sending people off the platform is generally I'll just post like a text-based post, right? Hey, putting a new song out, check below, and then follow that up with a reply to that post with a link to the YouTube. And 9 out of 10 times, the text version will, impressions will shoot up, and you'll see that YouTube link will just stay very, very low. So it makes sense. People want to stay on the platform. They don't want to hop off. But YouTube seems to get a little bit of love. Not much, but it gets a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. 100% true.
Yes. Hey,
Yeah, so,
Adrian, I didn't know you were.
What I'm wondering...
I didn't know you were with the whole solar heavy thing. I've been getting the solar heavy ads for a while, and I dig the music. I dig the music, and I think it's cool you're involved there. I'm curious to hear from Solar Heavy. You've seen an increase in followers. What kind of other benefits have you found from advertising on X?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's see.
So
He's
it's
talking
also
to Elon
a wide
Musk,
range
so
of,
that's a pretty good benefit.
increase. For instance, something that I didn't expect was my Apple Music listeners actually going up, right? So I can correlate the start of my ad campaigns back in around February, March to a continuous gradual up curve in my analytics to my Apple Music account. But that's interesting because I don't even promote my Apple Music link in any of my ads, right? 9% of them are going over to my YouTube channel, but it seems to correlate that people just naturally have this inquisitive nature to be like, oh, well, I see this ad, I see this is a musician, I see they make music. Maybe I don't have, a YouTube account, or maybe I don't listen to music on YouTube, but hey, I have an Apple Music account, so I'll go hop on over there. So there's a second, third, and fourth level to the benefits that come from just running ads, regardless of where you're sending people to. For YouTube, it's been incredible. The last month alone, I've gotten about 400,000 views, specifically just from ads. And I think I showed Adrian in the last space, I showed where I'm going up about like 200-300 followers a day just on X, based off of ads. There's a few techniques to doing that, like including your username in the actual ad content. It lets people click easier, where they can just hop on over to your profile and check you out and follow. But yeah, there's a multi-level approach. And I also mentioned previously in the other space, if you are partnered with YouTube, or you can be partnered with another platform that pays you, sending people there, will increase the revenue on that platform and create almost like a full circle effect, where the ad spend can be brought down from the revenue you make on these other platforms. So it's a wide, different, varying, increase across the platforms, and it's just interesting to see.
Oh, really? Eat, pray, love. Oh, thank you very little for fucking with me.
Pay for
You're a
itself
hater. Welcome to the
already,
club.
but, like, the
It's a big
increased
club.
YouTube
You're gonna
viewership,
like
I
it.
view
It's
a
good
little
for
more
you.
as an investment.
Sending a fucking message to the FTC.
Initially, for the first few months, it was an investment,
Waste
right?
your fucking time,
I started
lady.
about 6-7 months ago,
Fucking
and I had
dingbat.
no knowledge or training or any information on how to run ads. I literally just hopped right in and set a budget of like $50 for the first ad, and it just ate that up immediately, right? with very minimal results. And that pain of losing that money that fast kind of motivated me to really hop in there and break down the analytics, what went wrong, what didn't I do, and what could I have done better. I watched a few videos on people running ads on other platforms, and came to a conclusion pretty early. This is not the same, right? So running ads on X is not the same as running ads on Instagram or Facebook. The average CPC over there might be $7-8 per thousand impressions, right? Just as an example. Over here on X, you can get the same result for fractions of that, 50 cents, $1 less, right? It depends on if you allow the algorithm to optimize your ad. So yeah, it's become self-sufficient at this point. Took months, but we've gotten there to that point. Mostly because the prerequisite of me being partnered on YouTube, which took time to do, but yeah, once you're partnered on YouTube, you get revenue from that platform, and if you're running ads towards that platform, it starts to pay for itself. Same as Spotify, I get royalties from that through DistroKid. I'm independent, so I keep 100% of that, and I can just drop it right back into ads. So yeah, it's self-sustaining at this point, but it did take time to get to that point.
Well, that's pretty sweet. So you did let the algo on X optimize the ads for you, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The first few I ran, I was thinking, oh, I got this. I know exactly who to target. I'll just put the keyword music, keyword Spotify, keyword like that. I'll target other big music accounts. It was terrible. It did not work great at all. Sometimes it would eat the budget, and I'd get maybe 2,000-3,000 impressions. When I let the algorithm, which is an option at the bottom of every ad you run, it's just optimize algorithm option. It increases the target audience to 2-3 million to 80-90 million, right? It lets the algorithm reach out beyond your audience and put your music in front of people that you couldn't even imagine would be interested. And that can work in both ways, right? It can put your ad in front of things you may not expect it to be in front of, and it can put you in front of things that you would absolutely wish that you could figure out for it to do. So it's just very interesting to see the differentiation between running it with optimization off versus optimization on. And I highly recommend for dialing in your budget to begin with optimization on. Now you can later, I believe, turn it off. I've never done that yet because it runs so well, but I can actually watch on a day-by-day basis the impressions go up, right? Like they curve upward in the graph, and the cost per day will go down. So it's almost a win-win. The algorithm knows what's best. That's what it's based off of. It's based off of what people like, what people are interested in. The algorithm really does know what someone wants to see, and it will dive out beyond the limitations you set. Like I could put, for instance, new song, right? And it may target someone who types in the word new song, but it may even dive deep into someone who posted a paragraph or something longer, like a thread. And it'll just find that keyword like you couldn't believe and just naturally just slip your ad right in there. And it looks very natural and normal. It's another big part of how well the ads perform. You don't just want to be like, go now, listen now, right now, things like that. People don't want to be told what to do. It's more like they want to be asked what to do. So I generally make ads that'll say like, hey, you got a minute? Check out this new song. Or, hey, what do you think about this, right? And then in their minds they're thinking, well, what do I think about this? What is that? That natural curiosity just gets people to want to click on the ad and say like, well, what do I think about this? Let me listen and find out for myself. Inviting them to let themselves approach the ad and click through instead of almost that classical call to action option. It's giving them a chance to decide, well, do I want to find out or do I not? I can skip on by or I can click and find out.
That's cool. It's really encouraging. I've done a little bit of advertising on X. I have the verified org that Adrian's a part of, the Rebellionaire creators, and I had a question around, like what about just like posting some really short videos to X, like a minute long video that has music?
Yeah, that's actually worked well. So for my last song, I cut the 4-minute long music visual down into about a minute, and then placed that as an ad and created that through the ad campaign option. it performs good, right? You'll have a good amount of retention time. It's enough for people to get an idea for the song. Usually I'll generally set that video to be right after the drop's happening. They can be interested, and then if they want, I'll include the YouTube link within the website link for the ad. So they can click through and it'll continue generally right where they left off. Yeah, some people believe in the idea of doing like a 10, 15-second clip ad, right? For creative, like for an artist or someone who's doing something in this industry, I would say give them more time, right? You need to give people a little bit more to really convince themselves, are they interested in this, do they like it, versus like if you were selling a product and you could just flash it up real quick and people can just know almost immediately if that's what they like or not. It's a little bit different when it comes to being a creative on here and running your ads. You got to get creative, and you also need to give people room and time to enjoy what it is. For a musician, it's great because you can just, like I said, clip out, minute, 60 seconds, 45 seconds of a music visual, or even hire someone to make a visual and include the song behind that. People like that, We're visual creatures, and they enjoy just being able to kind of see the music as it's going on and storyline behind that. I make my own music videos, so I try to tell like a little mini story with the song itself. But yeah, that performs really well. I'd say about a minute clip tends to do way better than if I only did like a 15-second real tiny clip of like the drop or something like that. So yeah, big fond believer in video. Believe it or not, I'll follow up on that with video is the best performing ads that I've done yet. My number one performing ad that's hitting north of 30, 40 million impressions is a video clip that just loops with my song behind it. Performs way better than I would have ever expected. And my second ad up to that is one where I just ask a question. Simple question, do you like Spotify or Apple Music more? Question mark, that's what I made the ad, the actual question. And the replies are 400, 500, 600 people just, almost like it's like a tug of war between people who are Team Spotify, Team Apple Music.
Gotcha, bitch!
So if you can create like a conversation around the ad, within the ad, that also seems to be a big hit on the platform. So yeah, it's been like a game of find and see what works good and what doesn't. The platform's totally different than Facebook or Instagram. Instagram being more visual for your ads. Facebook maybe being more, conventional, more back in the day with how ads used to be ran and all that, more typical of what people expect. But yeah, X seems to be the cutting front edge of how you can get a little creative with running ads, and that's generally why I use it the most.
So I was also thinking about why I saw your ad. So Solar Heavy makes music. Adrian does some of the editing for the videos, which I had no idea about that whatsoever. Some things I post on are about AI. I've also posted about Midjourney. So I've posted like AI art, stuff like that. I'm a super nerdy financial analyst, but I do have a bit of creative in me. In your ads, do you mainly try and target creatives?
Oh yeah, so it took me about 20 or 30 ads to really get down a good list of targeted accounts and all that. It's
Well,
generally
what I mean
I'll
by
target other.
What I mean by target creatives, I mean,
Yeah, good.
like people like myself who aren't really creators as creatives. I'm actually a creator as like a nerdy analyst, but I have this creative interest to my life and to my work, and I'm drawn to that.
Whatever, eat, pray, love. You're crazy for even
Yeah,
chatting.
so I guess the
Go
closest
live your
example
best
of that
life.
is I
Go
target
away, the
people
show's
that
over, the
follow
movie's
NASA
over.
and SpaceX, and even Tesla, right? So I mean, there may be more in the engineering world of creativity, more mechanical, more into astrology and all that, but they're going to be drawn towards creative stuff. Now, it probably does help that my artist name is Solar Heavy, so if I'm targeting things that are related to space, I mean, there's kind of like a brand connection there, right? That's kind of like bridging over into that world just a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. I even target car manufacturers. believe it or not, right? You're probably like, why would I be targeting Lamborghini, right? Bugatti.
I'm
for
willing
my
to bet
ads
that
on
this kid
television?
works in the
But we think
advertising
about it,
industry, and he's presenting
Toyota,
himself as a
Honda, these companies
novice.
make cars, and what
Not too
what
many
they're
people
driving
talk about the
most.
automotive
They listen to
advertising
music,
industry.
and generally they're streaming that music as well. So yeah, you can get pretty creative with who you're targeting, and yeah, even targeting like car manufacturers and colleges. I target every major college in the United States. I spent about 4 hours writing down the top colleges in all 50 plus states, right? And added that to a giant list of targeting. And the average reach was in the millions. So, I'll get comments once in a while from in Florida, right? And they'll be talking about, why am I, I'm hearing this song and I just joined a new college in Florida, right? And it seemed, and then that triggered to me like, oh, okay, so that does actually work. You can have the most bizarre targeting approach and actually see that translate over into people that are interested in your ads and listening through. So yeah, absolutely. If you are creative in any way, shape, or form, you can reach out beyond what you would normally expect or think to be targeting. Most musicians would assume target other musicians. Maybe novelists, people who write books or writing a small short story or something like that, or a small book, would think to, oh, I should just target other people that write books. No, target other things that might be involved in that. People that are interested in stories, cinematographers, people that do all of that type of work. You're going to be able to bridge over easier if you broaden out to what you would normally think that you should target. Basically, my approach is try to do the opposite of what everyone else does, and that seems to typically put you in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it's cool. You're essentially running ads to X or on X to run traffic to YouTube and grow in other ways. So I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, it's a different approach. Back when I first started doing it, I realized, okay, well, major labels, they've got access to almost an endless budget. They've got a whole team, an in-house team for every artist of theirs. And, they're going to get billboard ads, radio ads, everything like that. It's nearly impossible for someone just making music from their bedroom or from their house to get a hold of a radio station, get a hold of some, major company or major label exec and get your music out there like that, especially when they're going to want budgets of $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000. It's just almost unrealistic for the average person. And most 99% of artists, people making music, they're not signed. They're starting independent and hoping one day they get picked up by a PR or management or a label, right? So I just said, no, I'm just not even going to go for that. I'd rather just do it 100% individual, solo, unsigned, and use the same techniques and any option that I can probably, get my hands on to try to promote my music in a way that's different than what everyone else is doing. And to this date, I've mainly seen maybe 2 or 3 other artists that I know of that are actively promoting their music through ads, which is really, really strange to me because it's such an easier way to do it, and the budget is so low when you're starting out. You don't need a large budget to really start running ads. Like I said earlier in the conversation, you can run ads for $1 a day. You could run 5 songs, $1 each ad, optimize it, let the algorithm take it and run with it, and double down on the ones that do the best. You don't need a crazy budget to promote. Your results are going to vary, obviously. Your mileage may vary depending on what you're doing and how you do it. But that comes with anything. And if people are willing to take the time to learn how to make music or write books or do cinematography or video editing or thumbnails like what's coming up here in a little bit, absolutely you should take the initiative to dive into ads a little bit and give that an option. Give it a try, see what happens. The worst that can happen is you spend a little bit of money, it doesn't work out, you get a few people who are interested, and you learned a little bit. The second option of that is that it works out fantastically and it ends up changing your life. And honestly, I can tell you now, it's increased my income 3x of what I used to get off of my music. I won't go into specific details, but you can imagine, just look up how much, 1 million or 2 million views on YouTube is worth, and I'm averaging about 300,000-400,000 a month now, whereas previously I'd get maybe 20 or 30,000 views a month, right? So the conversion's there, and if you have the mindset of problem solving and you're logical with it, you'll find a way that you can make this work for you, regardless of what avenue you're in, whether you're just someone at home running a small business, or you're creating music like I'm doing as an independent, or like I said, doing different types of artwork. Where there's a will, there's a way, and this platform is at the cutting edge. I do really believe that 5 years from now, it'll be no different than you look at your favorite influencer or favorite person on YouTube, right? 5, 10 years ago, how they started, where the platform's gone, and now where they are at this very moment. X has the potential to break out a lot of creative people if they actually just pay attention for a minute and say, I can do this, I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to do it, we'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. Best case scenario, it works, and everything's totally changed and just goes like an airplane from there. So yeah, I'm a fond believer in people on this platform being able to break out from the ocean of people that are also doing it with just a little bit of effort and trying things different. Don't do exactly what I did. Don't run things like I run it, but you can take the same principles, like I was mentioning about targeting car companies, targeting SpaceX, NASA. Just think of other second-hand related niches to yours, and then how you can kind of break into that, and guarantee you'll start seeing better results than if you just go with the basic things that everyone else is trying to do right now.
There's also something I think is really important, because you have, say, orgs themselves, they get a massive amount of ad spend available to them. This is also what I've been urging Bradford to do, is just to kind of run more ads on it. Say, for instance, there are YouTube videos that have been brought out by the members of the org, or just videos in general. I think running ads on them would actually be very good. So I think perhaps maybe, Bradford, if you'd be interested in that, do something similar to what Solar here has been suggesting, so we can actually put the ad credits to good use, because otherwise it would just be going to waste. That's a shame. And, that is a lot of money, right? That's a lot of ad credits that I think we can use to kind of, grow members of the org.
Yeah, we don't get them every month, but we'll make sure we stay on top of that. We want to support X. We know a lot of advertisers have gone away. We're supporting them through verified orgs pretty massively. I think we have 30 Rebellionaire creators, of which Adrian is one of them. I'm one too, and so basically it's $50 a month to add a creator. I'm not selling them. I'm not reselling them or anything. So that's $1,500 a month just on that alone. But then you have to put in $1,000 a month for the org. So $2,500 a month that I'm giving to X. But I think we should try it out and see what the algorithm does. So I'm willing to experiment. I've done some experiments with targeting in the past and in unconventional ways, and so I think we'll be giving a shot.
Yeah. Some data that I can just give to you, just from the amount of impressions I've reached, is 8 times more likely that the ad's going to be on iOS, right? So let's just to give you a round number, 8 million impressions, on an ad from iOS, only 800,000 on Android, only 108,000 that I'm looking at now on desktop, right? So there's a big differentiation, and obviously the dominant platform that the user is going to listen through. For instance, most people seem to be on iOS, right? And that's where you're going to get the majority of your ad spend being dumped into, just with letting the algorithm do what it does. Another thing I've noticed is age group, right? So for my biggest ad, which is north of about 20 or 30 million impressions right now that I've checked, that's between the age group of 20 and 29, right? And it's substantially less earlier than that, right? It's very, very low compared to like 13 to 17 age group. It's almost maybe 2%. Whereas that 20 to 29 range is upwards of like about 70 to 80% of the ad spend going to that age group. So just knowing just that little bit of data, iOS is the top performer, United States. You're going to get the majority of ads are going to be watched by people the age group of 20 to 29. You will get a little bit more, about 30% in the 29 to 34 age group. But just having that, being armed with that knowledge alone will will help guide people just on a generic baseline of who is on the platform and what you should be targeting. X is a younger user base. It's true. It just is what it is. It's rebranded itself. It used to be Twitter. Now it's X. Clearly, there's more features coming out. Soon they're going to be releasing the new financial feature where you can turn it into your own bank account. That's going to draw more people in, and as more people come in, that user base is going to go down in age group. And it seems to already be stable around the 20 to 29 age group, which is fantastic. And there's a lot of opportunity for a decade worth of promoting on here, just from that information alone. Another thing I'll mention is a lot of people like to just target English-based speakers, right? I unchecked English, but that works for me in what I'm doing, right? It's music. It's a universal language, so it's something that anyone can listen in and enjoy. So I specifically don't just target United States and English. I will uncheck that, and now we're talking the reach is astronomically more than that, right? So yeah, just things to note is that if you change what you're going after, and you'll be surprised what the results are. One more little bit of information that I've seen through my ads is it's a male-dominated user base. I select male and female for my targeting, right? But it'll be 70% males listen through to my ads versus maybe 30 or only 35% are a female user base. So yeah, just some information to add in on there when you're targeting.
Yeah, so I like the type of music you make. I use it when I'm deep diving at work or when I'm just in the zone. It helps me like get in the zone and to stay in the zone. And I think it's really smart that what you're doing. And so like you're kind of referring people to a long video on YouTube that people are likely to leave on. They'll be like, this is chill. I'm digging this. I'm feeling it. Let's get some work done. At least that's for me. For other people it'll be different vibe.
Yeah, exactly. I've been told that usually it's music for people, they're coding. I hear that a lot. I get a lot of coders, engineers, software engineers. Yeah, a lot of my music is instrumental, right? But a few do have vocals. I really like to do a combination of that, right? Most artists will stick to one genre, and that's the only thing they do. Like most companies or most any other aspect of life, stick to that one thing and just dominate that one aspect. I prefer to consider myself a multi-genre artist, right? I'll make songs that have congos, tapirs, sitars, mostly Indian native sounds. I'll make songs that are just, drums, hip-hop, songs that are cinematic. The one me and Adrian kind of put together here for this next SpaceX launch is something that I've really not made in years, right? This song has no percussion in it. Which was just a nice challenge in itself. Generally, I'm a percussion-based artist. Most of my songs are influenced by my hip-hop background, where I love to just have really good drums, break beats, things like that, D&B. This song that we're doing now, it has no drums at all, zero percussion. It's all just strings, synth elements, and a brass section, symphony kind of correlation to it. So yeah, bridging out from that really kind of helped with my ads as well, because you figure if I just did one specific genre of music, that's going to limit my target audience by a very large factor. The fact that I can target individual groups of people that would be interested in different types of songs, and I do that. I'll listen to the song and I'll imagine myself in the listener's shoes. Like, where would I be? What would I be doing? What type of person would like to hear this song, right? You should be doing that no matter what business you run. Like, who is your customer base? What are they? What's their daily average day look like? Where does your product fit in the best to that? Outside of just being music, I consider music a digital product, right? For me specifically, I look at it as digital real estate, right? For music, it stays up indefinitely as long as you're hosting it somewhere. I use a publishing company that allows independent artists to publish their music and keep 100% of their royalties. So every song I put out is no different than a piece of digital real estate that now will continuously, month over month, create me a small amount of revenue. Now, some people look at that and it's like, well, art should just be about the art. And that's true, it is. That's the fundamental aspect of making art, is art starts with just good art and what you enjoy and doing it because you actually enjoy it. On top of that, there's people that create art because they want more people to enjoy it, they want more people to hear it. And like you mentioned, it's something that they can enjoy in the background during their own endeavors in life, whatever they're up to. I believe there's a saying that Da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa and it sat for 7 years in an attic before he finished it, and now it's the most, viewed piece of art in the world on a yearly basis. Michelangelo, one of the top sculptors and painters in the history of mankind, was commissioned for his paintings, right? Millions of dollars in today's conversion rate. I did a post on that the other day. You can make art and it can have a financial benefit for you. It doesn't have to just be the end game of everything. But for me specifically, I do consider art on a digital platform as digital real estate that can continue to come back, bring more people in, and bring more revenue in. And I apply like a small business aspect to my art in that general mindset. Yeah. So it's interesting, but it's fun to be able to do this and to kind of give a breakdown on my mindset behind running ads. One more nice little bit of information I can give with running ads is it is true that there are time frames when ads perform better, right? So, I can see almost a wave dip. So every hour, it'll post a bar in your daily ad analytics, right? You can refresh the page and it'll update the impressions immediately. It's very, very accurate, and it posts it almost to the second. But if you let time go by for a day with your ads running, and you just look over the day, you'll see a kind of S curve to your impressions, right? And you'll notice there are times when you can optimize your ads to run, or you can just let them self-optimize and run throughout the day indefinitely. I noticed 3 a.m., terrible time. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., not so great for running ads, right? Most people are not going to be awake, especially if you're targeting certain time zones. When 7, 8, 9 a.m. comes around, it's starting to curve up. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. has been the peak for months now for my ads. That 10 a.m. to, let's call it 10 a.m. to about 1 p.m., right? People may be just getting in work, they're going to check their phone real quick, they're going to check a few posts, go right back to work. Lunchtime, 12 to 1, people are going to be checking, on their phone. That window seems to be the most highly active user base window for ads. And I correlate that to my watch time and my live view count on YouTube. It's another thing I like running my ads for is I can use that to get user activity time interval data just from my YouTube alone and correlate it with my ads to really get an idea of when my specific user base is live and when the best post time is for me. Now, X did just recently implement something within the last week, I believe, where you can actually go into your X analytics and see when the best times to post are. You'll see when your actual user base is active. Adrian, have you checked into that yet? You have a bigger account, so that'd be something interesting for you, where you can actually see in your analytics the activity base, like the time when people are most active.
Wait, I'm sorry, say again?
Have you noticed the new feature that they just put out in X Analytics, where you can see
It's still,
the time people are playing?
I think it's still technically broken. I can't actually look at it at the moment. Also, I'm in the car, so that's not going to happen. Well, last I checked yesterday, it was actually broken. So, yeah, that's not gonna work out. And my connection may actually drop in between, so if there's like a random disconnect, that is the result of badly optimized internet. So I'm like actually off Starlink, and that's an issue.
Yes, I'm trying to get on Starlink. That's the next move for me is upgrading over to Starlink. That's funny. Yeah, it sounds like you're driving there.
You're using like you're using like SAT, aren't you? Aren't you using like a different type of satellite internet? Because you have like basically the slowest internet in the call.
Yeah.
That's why you like hear random steamrolling happening, because you actually your connection, the signal of what we say comes in later. So it's difficult to have a back and forth because it's like 10 seconds delayed.
Dude, exactly. I'm using well, I won't shout them out because they're terrible. But yes, I'm on a low budget satellite compared compared to Starlink. Starlink is absolutely what I'm trying to get on. So yeah, the back and forth, the latency, terrible. Imagine, dude, when I'm playing Diablo, you can imagine how terrible that is, right? That the ping latency is ridiculous. So I won't even go there. Yeah, dude. No playing hardcore mode for me on Diablo. Back in 5 seconds. That's a whole nother topic, though. Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. But hey, following up on that. So apparently, heard it there. The ability to check your audience user base being active and when the best time to post is there. Check this out. Well, there's a way you can get around that. Even if you don't really want to run ads for a large budget or a large time frame, or you have a real goal of that, you can run ads at a low budget just to find out when your specific user base is the most active to optimize your post times on a day-to-day basis. So generally, what you would do is you would run a small ad, right, of whatever budget you decide, and in the ad campaign, target only your specific followers. It's an option you can choose within the campaign creation mode. But you'll check just target my subscribers, or my followers, excuse me. And you can even put in followers of and put your username. So I would put @SolarHeavy, and I would also select my name. And I can even keyword Solar Heavy as a keyword to follow, right? So now my ads will only show in front of people that are following my account, so I know that they're active on my account and they only follow me. It won't target outside of that. Do not put optimization on, so it won't reach outside of your manual set criteria. And now find somewhere that you can send people and track on a day-by-day activity base. It could be a website, right? You can use your website that has Google Analytics. Generally on your website, on mine at least, solarheavystudios.com, where I offer mastering services and stuff like that, I can go in and see like who around the country or around the world is live actively on the platform, on the website, visiting it. That works great. You can correlate that data to a couple of days of running your ads, and you'll see, oh, most of my user base seems to be active around 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 7 p.m., things like that, 9 a.m. in the morning. Another way you can do it, if you have a YouTube channel, running ads to your YouTube channel, you can correlate the active listener or active viewers and the watch time, right? You'll see that S-curve in the analytics of your watch time, your daily views per hour, and it'll correlate, or if it doesn't correlate to your ads, well, you got some information there, some more data that you can use and break that down and say, whoa, huge spike in views on my YouTube channel at 9 to 10 a.m. Huge drop around 1, 2, 3 a.m. So just another way that you can double down on that if you don't have access to other ways or have no idea, when the best time for you to post is. But generally speaking, you can look up a few websites. They'll tell you different times are the best time to post. But really, if you can get your targeted user base and know when they're active, that's the best time for you to be posting. Things outside of that and to also be correlating when your ads should be running. Just a little trick there that I use.
You could sell a course on this. This is really good information. Great
Man.
you have. And you're you're probably maybe one of the most financially astute music artists besides maybe Gene Simmons of Kiss or whatever.
Yeah, don't worry. I get asked what's my ad budget at least 300 times a day. And I like to just say, a good night out of the cheesecake factory. Seems to be my answer. In fact, that's what The Guardian wrote. I memed it pretty much like Elon did with a journalist writing in for an interview, and he just gave him that emoji response, right? So I pretty much just answered people with, my ad budget is on a day-to-day basis is a good night out of the Cheesecake Factory. Lo and behold, The Guardian a few days ago did pretty much a hit piece on me and running ads, and actually included that quote in there. And I was just like, man, they just mean themselves pretty hard there, trolled.
What do you mean they did a hit piece on you running ads?
Yeah, so believe it or not, they went all out on me on the under The Guardian, under culture and music. They compared me to Taylor Swift. A little off topic right now, but yeah, I couldn't believe it. I posted it on my page. If you scroll down a little bit on my X account, you'll see where I broke down where they were completely inaccurate. They were saying that I pretty much make AI music, right? Stuff like that. So I just literally included under my media tab. I have tons and tons of videos where I'm actually producing my songs, including the last two I just put out, in my little home studio, right? Like working on it, like piece by piece. It's generally something I like to do. Is I'll work on an idea, I'll record a little clip of it, share it on my profile, and then people give feedback for it. And the next day, I'll work on it more, share another updated clip, right? I kind of like to keep people engaged in the process of me making the song. It's also how me and Adrian did the song for the SpaceX launch. I worked on it a little bit, sent it over to him. He gave me some feedback on it, some songs that were similar to what he was looking for the video cut, and then I'll follow up on that with another update, and boom, the song's done. But yeah, I just broke down like the 8 or 9 different ways they were just completely inaccurate. And the Guardian, who wrote up this pretty much hit piece on me, just discrediting what I was doing. But they could have just DM'd me, and I would have really been open. I'm an open book with it. So, but they missed out on that opportunity and just went all out on their own way. But yeah, it was funny seeing that. But to see them include my troll reply of like my ad spend is a night out at the Cheesecake Factory. That was just like a chef's kiss moment for me. So I didn't mind it too much.
Hey, Adrian, I don't know how you co-produce with Solar, but I think it'd be really cool, even if you don't like show your face on the video, I think it'd be cool maybe to show that creative process, maybe with an audio space or some kind of audio recording plus some kind of screen share. I think people would find it really fascinating to listen to you during a creative process.
It's actually a really good idea. It's just that I'd like to keep the thing more of a surprise up until it comes out, so you kind of have an idea what's coming, but not the full picture. Because you actually have to listen to the thing multiple times over and over, and so then you actually view it, you see everything, and so if I were to do this a bunch of times, I actually feel boring for the person to see it. I think we could potentially kind of make a bit of a breakdown on that, but we'd have to like record it and be replaying, actually.
Yeah.
I think we could also. It's a. Actually, no, go ahead.
Or you could try it and see if it fails. Just
Yeah, but still, I'd like to keep things kind of exclusive and that, and then when it's out, then kind of like explain what we went through, or kind of like record as we're doing it, I think, and then release it later, just like behind the scenes. I guess we could do that, but well, we'll see.
Yeah, I kind of get what Brad's saying, almost like like a live space of working on the song and all that. But as he mentioned, it can get repetitive. Trust me, I don't think people really want to hear me playing back the same 8-bar section like 15 times. I mean, it can get a little repetitive there. I don't mind, I'm listening to it over and over again. But yeah, ask my dog how much she likes looking at me crazy when I'm working on the same section 15 times. It's trying to run out the room. So, but yeah, it could be neat to maybe do like a watered down, cut down version of that. Just little clips of it, similar to like if people go under my media tab later, you'll see I post like 20, 30-second, maybe up to like a minute clips of me working on the song. But yeah, this could be something that could be quick edited. There's potential for something there. In fact, that kind of ties into the beginning of the space. We were mentioning doing like a really all-out run of the second ad attempt, right? So this was our first ad attempt, just seeing like what were the results of a baseline running ads on the space. We got like 38 anonymous listeners, by the way, Adrian. So that number does keep ticking up, and some new ones. And he mentioned this is not promoted anywhere else except for specifically just the ads and just being live, tuning in. But yeah, that could be an aspect of the creative that we include is a breakdown of like the different sections of the track. What could be neat is if I actually soloed different sections of the song and then turn them on one by one individually until you hear the entire piece created, and cut into the conversation of where me and Adrian go over which section of the song we worked on, how we thought about this part, the different tracks he sent me to influence that.
So my idea was slightly different. I think it would be, and maybe this part's repetitive too, but to hear Adrian riffing on the visuals. Adrian, do you deal with making the visuals, or is it just Solar Heavy you doing that?
So for the edits that I do, I just kind of like look into the clips, and the process is just it's kind of interesting because if you were to look at how the before and after is and the production works out on that, it's just you have a shit ton of stuff, and then you have the end result, which is less of that stuff, and it's all optimized. It's like production where you do something for the first time, it's a prototype, and then you have to like streamline at the end. So you know what you're doing, know what you're getting into, and then you just kind of like streamline it into something else. But it looks like a huge fucking mess, and then you just kind of optimize it in. Like say for instance when we did when I did the IFT5, IFT4, it was one of the first times I actually did an edit like this, that large, and I had to cut in places. I had to like figure out how the program actually did it itself because it does scene identification, so you can actually cut it at those scenes. And I had to like micro cut a few like seconds, and so there's like places where I had to literally cut a quarter of a second just so that the cut was actually perfect because it would sometimes leave a frame in. And so I had to actually put that down. And then I had to basically shave seconds and quarters of seconds, bits of seconds of stuff so it actually perfectly fits together into the whole length of music. And even still I had to like include a little bit of extra beyond the music, which was then when it finally landed. Like, you know, when the rocket was actually landing on the ocean from the live stream's perspective, that's what I was then. Yeah. The second stage.
That's no different. That's no different than what I had to do for. So I mentioned earlier the 2 music videos that I put out on my page. I made them from scratch using CapCut, stock footage that I found on a few websites. But I mean, it gets pretty tedious cutting. It must have been at least 150 or 200 cuts that I had to do. And you start with like maybe 400 different videos and whittle it down to just maybe like 80. And then from there, you're playing it over a bunch of times, trying to figure out is this the right clip for this moment. And it's a lot of back and forth and stuff like that. No, we haven't. You know, he's definitely done all those videos so far. Like the last launch that I watched, which he first sent me, was really great. And so I've done my own separate music videos as well from scratch. So we both have done our own separate videos from scratch. But this one we're gonna team up on and just see, like how that combines and just comes out to something really interesting. Combined with the song being completely original as well. So yeah, there's potential to be really good. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. 2 separate creatives working on videos separately and then coming together on this project would be neat.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look, the additional thing is also. Hang on. What the fuck? Hold up.
Flying a spaceship over there, man.
Okay, sorry. Wait, what happened?
Sounds like you're flying a spaceship over there.
I know the insinuation is fine. Yeah, no. I'm actually in a parking lot right now of a gas station because I'm forced to drive an ice car for this particular task that I do. And holy fuck, people drive like idiots on the road. I have to like yell at somebody to hit their fucking brakes. They're about to crash into me because they're just driving on this fucking road and they're like veering off into the path. And I'm like, I'm already on the edge. If I go any further, I am in the drain. Who of us is gonna stop here? You know? Goddamn. That was a little near experience. Yeah, so to kind of get back to So what I do usually to kind of optimize the process, I imagine the visual of what I want inside of my head, and I have to be very stubborn about that. And then that's the thing that makes it into the final video. So I kind of like accrue footage over like 2 days, and I imagine how it's going to be in my head, and then I just sit down one day, just fucking flow state it, finish it off, and that's it, right? Send it out the next day, do the thing. That's how I always do it, right? So it's like I would be actually working through the night, and then I'd publish it at like fucking 6 a.m. Austin time, and so it's like, there you go. There's your product. So I just take the whole night through because there's nothing that happens during the night, right? There's nobody there. There's nobody to like ask anything of you. You should be asleep. Everybody else is asleep, but you're awake here. So, you know, you're kind of tapping into the consciousness feed yourself. So it's kind of cool to just sit there. And sometimes you do it with some people, sometimes you don't. Other people have to go to bed. I understand, like, the work and all. But yeah, I usually stay up all night to finish one of those, take an hour nap, continue with the rest of the day. So that's kind of like what's behind my edits. And I've done all the edits in a similar fashion. Actually, the last edit was the one that was very difficult to do. That's the one I did for Elon's birthday, because I had to find a lot of clips myself, which were very difficult to kind of collate, because you had to kind of restructure from memory what the timeline were, because every influencer in the Tesla community hypes everything up with the same amount of gravity whenever some new thing comes out, but not all things are equally important, right? So you have to kind of take these very momentous occasions, collate them in your head, and then just kind of like search for those things. Like, for instance, we have the XAI, we got the Neuralink thing. Nobody speaks about the Neuralink. Is the Neuralink? It doesn't have to, I still care about it. We're starting to see results because you have an actual guy using it, and the philosophical, which we talked about yesterday. But the other stuff like Starlink and all, you just have to merge this together. So it's a very challenging video because you both sides of all those sides, and you're like trying to find the best moments, not just the founding, but the actual happening. So let me find the video itself, which was where is it? There we go. This video right here. Yeah. That's the second time I've made an edit that was similar to the IFG4 edit. So you can see there. And that one performed massively, as you can see. So, yeah, awesome stuff.
Oh wow, yeah, I haven't even seen this yet. This is great.
Yeah, that one's good. I highly recommend that you'd watch that, look at it, see it. That's the kind of feel that I want to go with everything, is that everything is rhythmic, and I actually don't like music with beats in it, because I think it's just a distraction. So when you do things like this, it's supposed to be more about the feel of it, and the feel is as much auditorial as it is also visual. And so you want to merge the best of both worlds there, and by far, the best way to do that is to go with music that flows like water, right? So you have to think of it like Bruce Lee. You have to find the Bruce Lee concept of music, where it's like, flow like water, like you must be water, my friend. And you kind of shapes it out, because that's it. Exactly. So I kind of think that's cool, because if you look at it that way, you say you water, my friend, then the visuals become the landscape. So you're designing music to be water in a landscape of visual, and that's what that's all about. By and large, if you took any visual of any movie without sound in it, it feels like a valley. It feels like the Grand Canyon. It's cool looking, but what if there was water? Like what if it was an oasis? It would look so much nicer. It would look so much more impressive, and that's what you see here with music. It has to be water, no more than that. It shouldn't be like an iceberg in there sometimes. Otherwise, it's like a huge flood, and you don't want that. You want it to be graceful and beautiful.
Yeah, that's exactly, that's right up the alley of doing cue work, cinematic work, and composition for TV shows and movies. And I've done that a little bit. I've done that for about 3 or 4 shows, Restaurant Revolution, a few other ones. But yeah, it's so important to correlate the audio to the visual, not the visual to the audio. It's completely secondhand to what the visuals represent. So yeah, letting it be complementary and not distracting, right? So percussion, like you mentioned earlier, that's going to distract people from the visual aspect of it. Sometimes it works, like, for instance, war drums, right? Big war drums, those can be great for, emotional impact. Yes, but yeah, exactly. When you put
this is like slow
behind
flowing, right?
the
This is
visual aspect. Yes.
Yeah, so it's a different type of speed. If you're doing something that has rapid impact, that's like really, is a very rugged valley, then you're going to have waterfalls. Let's call the drums the waterfalls, right? You're going to have rugged valleys. This is more like a longish valley that you're kind of viewing from the distance, but also kind of close. That's kind of how I think about it as. I'm very, how do I explain this? There's a definition of that is called synesthesia. Very synesthesia about the thing.
Synesthesia, yeah.
I like to think of this, yeah. I like to think in terms of landscapes and shapes and things like that, so it work out very well. I have zero understanding of how music functions. I just kind of imagine all the shapes and fit things together, and then it seems to work. So that's kind of how I assume that. So if you, so with the music like that, there's two examples where percussion itself can actually work, and just like what you mentioned with the war drums. It's the one of these examples is the Hans Zimmer soundtrack for the first DC Superman movie, which was absolutely amazing, where it's like, it has the beat of the drums, and it also has the impact, right? It has this beautiful theme to it, which I thought was like, damn, dude, that's so epic, it's like better than the movie itself. I was listening to the soundtrack, I was like, shit, that is good, that is so good. That actually made the movie feel even better because of the soundtrack alone. Like this beautiful hopefulness of everything, and you had this like choir getting into it, and this massive power. That's what the music kind of felt like, which is absolutely beautiful. There's another example of this, which is kind of smoother in a sense, but also kind of goes back to what you were saying of tailoring the music to fit the video. And that is what a creator known as Max Cooper does. I'm not sure if you know of Max Cooper, but he's like one of my absolute favorites when it comes to sound designing, because he takes these artists that make visuals, and then he makes music for those visuals. And that is just amazing. Like, it's so beautiful. Like, if you've ever seen, if you guys don't know, just have a look at Max Cooper on YouTube. Listen to some of his music, and it's really weird. Like, just go to the stuff that's viewed the most. It's kind of an acquired taste in a sense, because the music is kind of odd, but it's just the right amount of odd that I personally love, and it fits perfectly with the visuals of everything that he produces, and all the music is kind of similar. There's a consistent style, which is what makes me love him even more, because normally what happens with music is you try to come up with something that's a little bit different every single time, and sometimes it's so different that you don't really feel there's consistency with the artist itself. But with something like what this guy's doing, that's the thing where it's like you can recognize his style in everything that he does, because he has a very particular sense of that style. It's the same thing also with Hans Zimmer's music. Like, for instance, you can sometimes hear certain things that are consistent, not in all songs, but there are other things that are consistent with those other songs. Like, for instance, when he's using the electric guitar, he hits a very particular key. I can always recognize it. The same that you also hear in you hear it in the Superman soundtrack. You hear it in the, what is this, soundtrack for Inception?
The movie where he goes in the mind.
Yeah.
Inception.
Yes, exactly. You hear it in Inception. You hear it in you hear it even in the Spider-Man theme song for Electro. See, three right there, and it's a consistent style. That's another thing that I think is really important for people to kind of look at when it comes to style consistency, as well as dealing with just the type of music that you have. Right? You look at, say, for instance, the Superman theme song, and you look at the Electro theme song. You're like totally different universes, but both of which feel fucking incredible. Like, they're so beautiful, they're so massive, they're so specific, tailor-cut for the characters. You know, you have the Superman theme song that basically is just, it feels like what the character does. It feels massive, it feels powerful, it feels almost prophetic in a sense, while trying not to be prophetic, which is the essence of what that character is. And then when you look at the Electro theme song, it is the essence of that character as well, wherein, it's a person who has like schizophrenia almost, and you hear the voices, you hear all this. It's so good, it's so well done. You hear the crackling of the electricity almost, because that's literally what you hear in that song, and that is like consistent with the style and the thematics of it. So if you look at something that's visual, or you look at something that has a theme to it, you have to kind of tailor the sound to match that theme, and then it becomes impactful. And the sound itself, if it's really, really good, can be a standalone thing in and of itself. I've listened to the unoptimized version of Solar Song here many, many times, because it just sounds fucking good. And that right there is the reason why it will succeed, because if you wanted to listen to this thing on repeat, even on its own, even when it's not even optimized, which is impressive enough as it is, then that is really a success story, because the theme for that is perfect. It's a theme of hope, it's a theme of perseverance, and it just absolutely feels like you're reaching the stars, or you're cutting through this almost impossible veil, which is like the clouds and the atmosphere itself and gravity and everything that holds you back, and even secures you in a sense, like as it is. We're trying to defeat the thing that secures us. So yeah, it's a music thing. That's why I'm so passionate about music, why I love people who make it.
Yeah. So what you're tapping into there is the signature sound, right? So Hans Zimmer, has a signature sound that you hear across all of his different compositions that he's worked on. Even for instance, like when I was a kid, I was listening to the soundtrack to the movie Gladiator, right, with Russell Crowe. That soundtrack, like almost set me on a whole entire world of getting into music. The way that he used certain voices and ethereal different movements within it. I mean, he has a very, very, very signature sound to him, but the range is incredible. He can work on a, Gladiator to Inception, despite that other movie you mentioned. The way he's able to do that is because he has such a signature sound with what he uses that he probably just naturally uses. He doesn't really. It's an afterthought, right? He doesn't even really think of it. It's just he subconsciously just chooses these certain sounds that work well with it. And yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to do with the song you just mentioned that we're working on. Because I wanted it to feel like you're cutting through the sky, going up to something, and it's like that feeling of hope. And that's why I included that brass horn section, everything else during the drop. Because I actually visually anticipated this will be the moment when the rocket's either being caught by the arms, right? Or it's going off and going up. So yeah, keeping that visual mindset, which is an interest, what you said, said Max Cooper or Matt Cooper, I believe. He does that with visual artists.
Yeah, Max Cooper, yeah. I'll send you some of his stuff that I think is very nice and stuff to get into. By the way, I kind of want to shut this space down and begin with the next. It happened in about 9 minutes. Yeah, which is the one with the thumbnail stuff. So if you want to join into that, that'd be epic. But yeah, man, this is really nice. I wanted to say something about the music aspect. Yes, for the catch itself, I kind of wanted to feel like as if it was this momentous, epic thing that is like separate from everything around it, but also feels like a hug. You know what I mean? How does a hug feel like? Like, what is that? It's like this amazing, warm feeling to it, right? It's like it's soft, but it's cool. When you look at it in the context of something like what Mechazilla would be, I think it needs to feel biblical. That's why I chose the trumpet. So I was like, it has to happen. It has to feel biblical. It has to keep the biblical theme consistent, because that's, if you look about it in a structural sense, the song for the IFT5 and what we're going to do is a biblical metaphor. Because why is it not a biblical metaphor? It's literally the fucking ark. If you think about it, it's like for Plan B, even though Plan B should never happen. But it's to spread consciousness, and that's what it's for. And in and of itself, it is almost like an ark. So there's this biblical reference that I think will be a consistent theme. It's a human moment, which is also biblical because we were made in the image of whatever God is. So why not? Okay, I'm gonna have to end this. Bradford, do you want to 30 seconds, and then I'll wreck this, and I'll be back in like a couple minutes because I have to kind of set some stuff up, get the space done, head to the toilet.
Adrian, those two rants that you just did, like, that's what I want you to capture on tape. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you in an editor doing 200 edits exactly the same way. I'm talking about like conversations, talking about how this lines up for you, and like more like the creative, artistic side of it.
That's true. I could potentially do a subscribers only thing, I think, perhaps. We could kind of consider that. Like, be a subscribers only thing I could do. That's actually a really good idea, because there are subscribers of, legitimate impact, because it's like $1 a month that has zero impact. Tax, which is, you get like a fraction of what that is. So it's very small. Yeah, I actually should have put it a little bit higher. Think about it, but so the more people subscribe, the better. And I guess it's the cost of that should be kept low in that sense. So that was the initial reasoning. There's always a little bit of greed that itches at the back of your mind, and that greed is sometimes good, but also sometimes I think gets in the way from actually selling a product or providing something of value with max intent of providing value, right? So, yeah, if you subscribe to me, thank you. I hope I'm able to provide as much value as I possibly can. nice with it, so much more impressive. And
as the bee collects nectar, the disciple who shall overcome this earth?
how like cities and
And looking, you know what I'm saying? I was like, God damn, these niggas really got that nigga meant that shit, man. But he's saying that in the Bible, fuck.
yeah, you say you were always
Stated on a particular story of how they came to be and who they are, and as a result, out in a lot of the science, sometimes it
Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold with dual screen preview. Let's see the pic as you take it.